a continued public hearing for 420, 428 Newburyport Turnpike, Sandy Patchkin. It's the owner of Ipswich Bay Glass. I think we're at the point we had Larry Graham has taken the years-long history of certificate of votes and consolidated and summarized them into one. They can be recorded as the project winds down. I think you have a few things. There's also a few lot line changes. And Charlie, do you want to say anything? Have you had a chance to read? This is all kind of happening.
Yeah.
I just want to give Charlie and Larry a chance to go back and forth. Have you had a chance? I know you gave some feedback to Larry Graham's comments.
Yeah.
Mostly in the affirmative. They were more like, crossing T's and dotting I's and so.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what I could do is show you the, as you mentioned, a lot of it's, I think there was some comments about, referencing proper, lot numbers on plans, the things of that nature even. The biggest change probably is, Larry asked that we show, there's a gravel area that's in behind.
Right, I read about
behind
that.
the building.
Right.
So we've added that to the plan, and also, and if I say anything wrong, Larry, cut right in. He also pointed out that in our drainage analysis that what we did is we looked at the two buildings, the increase in pavement for the two buildings, but we didn't look at the impact that was gonna be caused by that gravel area.
Is that construed as impervious? You in the drainage calcs put it down as woods, which it was. But it really didn't change things, Larry? You were
It's not
satisfied?
impervious, but it's a different curve number, basically, that's
Right.
used.
But you were still satisfied that the detention basins are adequate?
Well, I haven't seen all these revisions. I think the board is probably gonna act tonight, subject to me.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
I think what I got from Larry's
He
report
implied that he didn't have.
was that he wanted us to address it, and to address it means adding some more drainage to the point. So we did that. That's what this plan shows. You see that this is the infiltration basin that we had
Oh, that's what you already did,
previously.
okay. And
And we're actually adding a second, we added this one as it's a sediment forebay, and we'll put a swale along the top and pull, so any of that gravel that runs off to that swale will then go into the sediment forebay, and then it won't get into the infiltration system. I know Larry-
it is a watershed for the Mill River, so.
Right, so that's the biggest change, is the addition of that sediment forebay.
Is that outside storage, Sandy?
Yes, we have trailers
Yeah,
parked on
right,
it now.
yeah, you need that room out there.
I do. But
It's
bear
kind
in
of-
mind that most of the gravel is gonna be covered by two buildings.
Yeah.
Right, so-
Exactly,
So
exactly, that's what- yeah.
most of the gravel kind of goes away.
So the roof runoff will be taken into those by pipe as well, right?
Yeah, the roof runoff is directed via pipe to the sediment forebay, and then it'll run through a spillway from the sediment forebay into the infiltration system, and through another spillway.
All right, do you have any
So-
comments
so-
on any of the other changes?
I think that was the biggest one. The rest of it, I think, was all very, I think it was all very straightforward.
I think the fire-
Obviously, Larry hadn't had a chance to see it.
I haven't seen it, but I think I'm seeing a lot line change.
Yeah,
Is
well, and I haven't had a chance to discuss this with Sandy yet. Larry wasn't crazy about the idea of splitting these in half. When we talked about it, there's different ways to do this. I'm showing again, that shows a proposed lot line right there, and then this would be an easement. The other way to do it, Sandy, would be to take and put the lot line to the back and then provide, so I just put that line on there right now as a placeholder, because I hadn't had a chance to discuss it with Larry, with Sandy yet.
yeah.
But ultimately Sandy may not like what I've done right there, but,
I don't mind it, all right?
Okay, so-
The lot line to the right, I mean, it's, to me, it's six and one, half dozen of another. We developed the second lot line only for accounting purposes. I mean, bear in mind
I understand.
that the buildings to the south are occupied by Ipswich Bay Glass Company. The buildings to the north
North.
are rented, and therefore there's expenses that become shared with the tenants. And by dividing it, it's easier to divide utilities, and maintenance.
I can
and-
relate, that's what I do.
Yeah,
So-
and all of that, that's why it was done. So to skew the lot line to the right and grant an easement on the southern area, or the area to the left, is just fine. I mean, I don't think we should come down here, Charlie, because this is probably gonna wind up going to the town.
Right, probably end up donating to the
Yeah,
town.
that would encumber, that would add some complexity to that.
Yeah, then why, why do it?
To that
twice?
transaction.
No,
yeah.
it would, so.
So I mean,
That's
real,
good,
yeah.
if that's satisfactory with everybody, I think the rest of it was pretty much nuts and bolts.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
the
I
only
didn't think
thing
there
we,
was
yeah,
any,
the only thing we have to talk about is this item 20. And, you know,
in the decision,
yeah,
right.
You looking at that? All right, does everyone wanna look at that one?
Well, there's a number of things in the decision that, suggestions by, several suggestions by Katrina, a suggestion by Cliff, and then this item 20, which Sandy and I talked about by telephone yesterday.
and I have some new thoughts on it. And the other thing is, I don't know if, I haven't seen an email from the fire chief, but I had a conversation with the fire chief. He's okay with the buildings, the way they're situated.
Well, we got that letter from him,
Oh, you did, because he
Yeah.
didn't copy me.
right, Katrina?
I saw that, yeah.
But I went through it with him.
Any other members have any comments so far? All right, Larry, do you want, I mean, Charlie, would you rather start, are we all set with Cliff's wanted, what, reference to what, 1998?
Yeah, and that would be in the third paragraph, which I think should be in there, so we'll revise that.
Yeah,
Is that where you were
Yeah, most of
seeing
them,
it, Cliff?
yeah, I gave Katrina, most of them were just,
Yes.
Okay.
some clarifications, but I think Katrina was already, Katrina, you, added, do you have any problem, Charlie, with, this certificate of vote shall not be construed as to invalidate any or all the conditions contained in the previous one?
Yeah, I think, Sandy read it as well. Are you all right with that, Sandy?
Yes, but I mean,
I think
my,
that's actually, Sandy, what you were talking to me about as far as the grandfather. You know, I
yes,
think
That gives you the protection.
yeah, that's, I was looking for protection.
Yeah, it goes
Yeah.
both ways, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of boilerplate, really.
Yeah.
That was one of my issues tonight, which kind of relates to article.
You know, I
issue.
wonder on Sandy's behalf and that, if that should be changed to, or added, invalidate any or all approvals and conditions. Because what he was looking for was any grandfathered approvals that could be construed to have been left out in this compilation. So maybe if we just add that wording in there, that takes
That
care
umbrella, that umbrella's anything that,
Yeah,
we might be
any
missing.
or all.
I don't feel that
What do the
in
attorneys
those
say?
older
I don't-
permits,
Is that
The
the
two
proper
attorneys.
that there should be
language?
any,
Well.
any new regulations or requirements that should be
I don't think.
put
it
on
really
those
matters.
old permits,
I think the
because
conditions,
the old permits are already grandfathered.
yeah, the conditions are already contained in the approvals.
That's right.
You don't get conditions without approvals, right?
Mhm.
So,
I think we're on the right page,
Leave
Larry
it
and
as
I.
is?
Yeah.
Or all? Okay.
um,
I think basically what we want to do is look at this new one as something that simplifies all of them together, but we don't want to nullify anything in the old ones.
Nor do we want to add to it.
Right, we just
Yeah.
want to simplify it, and so if we forgot something, then it's still good in the old one, good or bad, you know, for you or us.
I've kind of run across this, okay, with my dealings with the Concom. I mean, one of the comments in here is to verify all the wetlands, right? And what Larry and I didn't realize was that it's all been done. I mean, there are like 7 orders of conditions on this site. And all of them have been closed out, all of them required as-bills, because it was in the Concom permit.
right,
And that's all been done with the exception of one.
right, the last one.
Yeah, the last one is sitting there, ready to be filed for certificate of compliance. The only thing that's missing is I haven't paved around building 6. Some of the pavement in building 6 is in the which is the last building over here, that's under construction now.
Put that right up. I brought this again.
Can you point that out, sure?
This is building number 6.
Building 6 is right here, and there's a little piece of the wetland buffer that comes up into the parking lot. So I can't close it because the work isn't done. But all the other stuff has been as-built, submitted, and closed with the Concom. Just that one order is open. So, and that really kind of brackets where everything is. I mean, it's a complex site. It's a big site, and in order to start to understand it, there's three things you have to understand. You have to understand the timeline of acquiring the different parcels, and therefore how the three main site plans were done, right? You understand the timeline of the acquisitions, then you start to follow why the three site plans were done, and how they were done, and what the methodology was. So this is contrary to the conversation that you and I had, Larry, but I'm thinking that what we need to do is an index plan. Take a site plan that shows all the buildings, and as I said, there's three major orders of conditions. Color code it, and then reference the particular drawings that address that particular area of the site. And you know, we kind of got started on that. Back in '07, the board asked me for a letter outlining how we had gotten to where we were.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's only up to '07, but this is a copy of it, right? And it gives you some insight and some understanding of why everything was done that was done. I mean, we're never gonna have a document that you can sit down and look at in 5 minutes or 10 minutes and understand what's going on. I mean, unless you're really familiar with it, and probably the only people that have dealt with it frequently enough to be familiar is Charlie and I and Larry. It's gonna take a while. It's never gonna be something that you can just pick up and say, this is it, 100%, that's what I wanna look at, and you're off and running.
Yeah, but at least we're referencing historical timelines in this document, so it's just, you know.
Yeah, I think the document's fine.
Yeah,
The,
we're not
the,
trying to-
the problem is the as-built part of it, okay? We've got the as-built piece for the wetlands and the Concom, just about done the way it is, right?
Right.
I mean, that last drawing is done, it's just sitting waiting for that last piece of work to be done, and then that will be submitted. But the notion of going through and consolidating all these 50-odd drawings onto a comprehensive set, I think it's 20 grand to do it. Larry thinks it's 10. So, for the sake of argument, we could say 15. That's a lot of money. And that's before Larry reviews it. So, I would like to propose that we do it with an index drawing. And then it's almost like a library card. You look at the site plan, which anybody can understand. It's comprehensive, and you can and each color code gives you a listing of the drawings and documents that it pertains to.
All right, well,
And call it a day. And it's not 20 grand, it's probably $1,000.
well, you never.
Could I ask
Charlie's
you a question? Is that one of the conditions, that you create one plan?
Where's that?
I didn't
Yeah,
see
I was
that.
wondering that.
Number 20, we're jumping ahead.
Number 20.
I know, that's the one, okay, we can jump, because, I mean, that's the bone of contention here, but,
Well,
I don't, 20.
there's only a few other ones before we get into that one. Could we knock them off?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because
Go down
I wanted to
go
get
through
to
the
number
thing.
5.
was on page 2. We just went through that, and then, Sandy's made his.
Say, that's all right, Sandy, we can, I mean, I appreciate, you know, your background on that,
Yes.
your opinion. So go ahead, Larry.
Well, in the second page, the 2013 approval, Katrina had a question about the date.
Well, I
Charlie?
just hadn't seen the
Yeah.
plan yet, so.
Charlie, I was just gonna suggest that we date everything June 19th, so
We could do
Is that okay with
Yeah,
all your
that's just that we
revisions?
can backdate. We haven't, right now, you're looking at a draft,
Okay,
so I can backdate everything.
so we'll just make everything June 19th, and then.
Yeah, why did you put 20th on the alert?
Then the record will be straight.
Why did you put 20 on there?
You didn't-
Yeah, you did, on this original draft. Because our vote even said, why is it? It's 19, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, on the first page, did we agree that that invalidate sentence would say conditions and approvals?
No, just leave it like
Leave
it
it.
is.
Or leave it like it is?
Well, wouldn't that infer that the inverse was true, that it didn't validate approvals?
Right, so we wanted to use the word and
I think
approvals.
you'd wanna have both in there.
Oh, you did?
That's what Sandy.
Well, I would
wanted,
just
right?
think it, yeah, I mean, if we're gonna,
Okay,
I think you can infer from the omission that it was intended, that it was proving the opposite.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
I was only looking at it from our perspective, but you're right.
I mean, I think it's
We wanted to
obvious,
give it to
pretty
them.
obvious that it's not invalidating approvals, but there's no harm in putting that in.
I mean, I think that's also valid, but I mean, it's just by omission, you don't want someone to later on argue that it was omitted intentionally.
I've had some issues with this, with the Concom, in that as I closed out, as I submitted as-bills and closed out these different orders of conditions, they've come up with, well, why don't you, we want you to add this into this as-bill. And the issue was, well, it wasn't one of the conditions in that filing. It's a condition in a newer filing, but not the old one. Well, we'd like to see it in the older one. And although it hasn't been a big,
Oh, this is the Concom who's
yeah,
saying this?
Yeah.
yeah, it hasn't been a big money issue. It has been a bone of contention along the way. And I just,
Well, I think wetland, I mean,
I don't think that that's the intent of this, is to hold me to a different standard than the initial approval.
no, but remember, like I said in last meeting, we have every right to revisit the original COB, which is what we did. You know what I mean? In terms of, in a major modification, that's all.
But we're not changing any of the.
Yeah, we're not, I mean, in the spirit of trying to focus on what you're doing.
Yes.
You know, that's why. We're just trying to focus and how that impacts, that's why. But there also is an attempt here, and I think, like you said, in a complex project, for future planners, for future planning boards, for future owners, to clean it up a bit.
Well, I think the way to clean it up is with a timeline,
Right,
an
the time-
index plan, and just almost a narrative.
You're not ready to do an as-built anyways, you're still doing stuff.
That's right. And
So why are we even
that's another
talking-
part.
Yeah, you're not,
I mean, I doubt that I will be done by 2018,
right, you're not,
to be quite honest.
I mean, you still have some thoughts and, like
Can
you
we get
said.
to condition 20 in a minute? and Go
Yeah.
get right on through
Yeah, I wanna
here?
can you get to five, can you?
We keep getting back to
Larry,
I know,
I
'cause
wanna go, I don't wanna
it's
talk about
crossed.
Concom anymore, go ahead.
Okay, number 5, Katrina asked about the
Then I asked
traffic,
about that too, yeah.
traffic flow. Subject to traffic flow and circulation. In the 2007, and Charlie and Sandy might know
Charlie, you have
this,
this in front of you?
but in the 2007 approvals, we said that there would be an additional statement in there, and I don't think there was one added. But what I took out of the previous approvals that was in that same paragraph was about the signage on the northerly ingress egress. I couldn't find why that signage went away, but I looked at site distances, I see no problem. I think it was just for construction, but I'm asking more
I
than
gave Charlie my copy.
what you guys remember.
I think you're right. I
Because the
mean,
signage was up.
Of the
Yeah.
revised
Now it's gone.
revision,
This is-
And
the COB.
this is-
I think the driveways, although not exactly the way they were envisioned, as far as the traffic flow on the site,
Yeah,
they're very adequate. Actually, the second one, which we were kind of concerned with, really has better sight lines than the first one.
yeah. It
Yeah,
does.
we
I mean,
placed it at
in
the
reality.
top.
Yeah, absolutely, it
Yeah.
does, yeah.
Because you had to put the flasher in for the first one.
I put the
Yeah.
flasher in for the
Right,
first
The
one.
state required that, we didn't have to do that for the second.
I think it had to deal mostly with construction. I
Those are my feelings.
I don't know if anybody else remembers, but the signage is gone, and I'm fine with it being gone, and that's why I took that out of that. So if everybody's happy with that, I'd say just leave it alone, one simple statement.
Yeah, I'm not even clear what the traffic flow and circulation plan was, because it only referred to a plan that I didn't have, and so I just was looking at the text and realized that
It wasn't a specific flow pattern, you know, with arrows or anything like that. It was showing the complex with the drives, how you would get through it, how you would get to the parking spaces.
so is there a way to describe that?
No, I mean,
I would just, I think it's fine. I
Okay,
would
so-
almost strike the whole thing out, but
all right, so circulation is descriptive enough,
I think it is.
okay.
And the rest of it.
Okay, what's the next one?
So, hold on, so don't change that at all, leave what you said,
Mhm.
okay.
And then your next comment was,
The number 10?
no,
No, we're not 10.
At the very end, 21.
21, then we'll go back to 20, I guess.
I just had a question on 14, quick, Sandy. Might be, Larry, because you had said, subject condition, there should be no toxic and/or hazardous waste material stored on or transiting the site. Now, Charlie, you can help me on this. I mean, that's just subject to, fire department and Concom, conditions and regulations.
It's also, I mean, if you have hazardous materials, they also.
But I mean, it's just kind of vague from our standpoint, it's
Yeah, I agree.
kind of vague. I mean, you could say, bleach is toxic.
Right.
It's only what is subject to the regulations, anything over 5 gallon, I think there should be a little bit of clarification, subject, and you can't just have it like that, Larry.
And where did that condition come from? Was that in an earlier?
That was in an
condition?
earlier one.
But it's just not clear enough.
I think it stems from back in the days when I first bought that place. Prior to me, there was 60,000 gallons of diesel fuel in the ground.
Yeah, I remember, okay.
Yeah,
But
way
let's not-
back when.
Let's not even go there. I
Yeah.
mean, you had to do phase 2, no, I don't want. But I think we should reference, the fire department deals with that, and so does Conservation Commission, and so does
And
the
I don't
state.
think
And the
Sandy
Board of
has any of
Selectmen,
these, but
We
oftentimes it's a NIPD's permit as well.
we
So
don't.
how do we word that, Charlie? We just wanna have it,
Rather than say that they shall not be, that any toxic or hazardous waste materials shall be handled in accordance with all federal, state, and
Yeah.
local
that's
regulations.
all I want, that's all I want.
In compliance with all applicable
Yeah.
state, federal,
Is that all right,
local.
Katrina?
We actually have that language right in our zoning bylaw under
Right.
section 8.2.
Right, I mean, just the way it's written there is not good.
Shall be used, stored, and transported in accord with all applicable
Yeah.
federal and state regulations.
And that just goes without saying.
Yeah.
We have it in our leases.
Yeah, of
With our
course. I mean,
tenants.
that lease is, that language in lease is very strong.
Yeah.
So do you want that language changed to
What,
what I just said?
to reflect the zoning, yeah.
8.2.
All right. I guess we can skip Larry to 20.
21?
What do you want to do?
I didn't add that in there because it is no longer applicable. That's a 30 foot.
But it wasn't explained to anyone why, right?
What, 21?
Yeah. The buffer zone, the 30-foot wide buffer zone along the westerly property line. It went away when
You bought the
he
property.
bought the
Is that all right, Cliff?
Trudell property.
To strike it, and
Or
It's
it's
no
already,
longer
or it's just kind
applicable.
Or
of,
just explain why it's not necessary anymore.
Explain it in this document?
Well, I thought.
I don't think so,
Charlie,
because
you see
we've
that?
eliminated a lot of, it's just like the signage on Route 1. Why explain why it went away?
Well, it's a condition of one of the.
that's why we're doing a
prior-
modification. We can also take
Right.
and modify.
I think we
Yeah.
need to modify that condition
Well, we did,
by taking it out.
yes.
There's a lot of,
But
every
we're
condition.
saying that,
That, I know,
We're
and
saying
validate, yeah,
before
yeah,
that-
I know, because we had
so
that
we just need
language
to
at the beginning.
explain it.
Yes, okay, let's just explain it. Because you can't, because that, we can't be contrary to the the preamble, you know, the preface there, you know,
Gotcha.
yeah.
No, makes sense.
Well, let me just explain it. I didn't create this document by explaining everything that got left out.
Yeah.
So if you start doing it now.
Right.
You better go back and look at every single one.
No, I don't think we want that.
And just like the signage thing we just went through.
Well,
I
then,
don't, if Sandy's not concerned with it, I don't know why we should be.
I don't know.
It's
Well,
gone.
I'm concerned because I'm concerned for the people that are going to be reading these documents in the future, trying to understand what happened. And it will be clear from this document, if all the conditions are still valid of all the prior permits, then it isn't clear that
they're
there
valid,
isn't
they're
a buffer
valid,
zone. It looks
unless
like
they've
there's
been
still a
modified.
buffer zone.
Well,
They're valid unless
that's
they've been
why
modified.
I think we should add in that previous thing,
No.
applicable conditions.
Yeah.
And then then you're done.
No, I mean,
No longer applicable.
this certificate of vote shall not be construed to invalidate any of the conditions. It doesn't mean
That's all.
that all the conditions are still, Still
And it probably
required.
should be added applicable conditions, now applicable or something.
so I'm saying, with this document's not gonna invalidate any of the prior conditions. They may have become unnecessary or superfluous
Yeah.
before this document.
Yep. Okay, that's what I think too, and that's why I didn't identify each and every one.
Right,
and
yeah,
say,
right, we
I
don't,
don't
that
think we
gets
wanna
too
go down that
ambiguous, we
road.
don't do that,
What?
yeah, we don't wanna start going there.
Yeah.
All right, next
So
one?
strike that one?
Yep. Next, 22, there we go, Charlie, you're looking at?
Well, this was another one that I didn't explain, that the board previously granted parking relief. I just explained in one of these conditions, which was near the beginning.
Yeah, you talked
It wasn't
about-
even a condition, it was an
You
explanation.
took the adequate parking, reserved parking, that should be
Yeah.
left.
Right.
And you said the reserved parking should not be built upon, that's all,
Right.
in case it's necessary
Yeah.
later.
So I didn't explain that the board in the past actually granted relief to build, or to be built, 313 and have 141 reserved.
I think what Larry said it previously,
So that when someone reads this in the future, they'll say, how come they didn't have to conform, and they'll have to go back and look at another, decision, and this is supposed to simplify it, so that it's understandable what happened.
Well, I mean, I think people still, lawyers and people who are buying this property or whatever, are gonna have to go back anyway. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think that we can, eliminate the
you
prior
can't,
history.
yeah, you can't just pick and choose.
You know what I mean? I mean, I think it was a good idea to try to reference everything in one document, but I don't think we should have to, have this worded so the previous documents, become superfluous or don't really matter anymore.
And in
It's
fact,
more
that's
important
what
that this
we're-
reflects current conditions, because that's where we're
I mean,
heading
you know,
towards.
All
We
right, I'm
don't
fine
have a
with that.
parking issue,
Yeah,
and we do have a bunch of reserved spaces.
Right.
Uh,
which haven't even been used,
It's-
And we don't wanna develop.
It's in the history of the development, it's
Yeah.
not like we're wiping it out or
Yeah.
anything, it's still
and
there.
they're also notated, they noted on the plans as well,
The parking
the
windows?
reserves, yeah.
23 was talking about surety, and I did leave that one out because in thinking about it, I'm thinking about what the board would do with any kind of surety.
Right.
It just doesn't seem to make sense or be applicable to this. I can't imagine what,
The two additions.
yeah, I mean, it's not a subdivision, it's not a small,
Yeah.
little site plan.
We're not gonna insist that he build it.
No, there's no surety, it's just, as necessary for a review engineer to do any work, that's just a transaction between the
That's
owners
not the same.
and
It's
the
not
review. I
surety.
know, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, that's all that's necessary, and that's not,
Yeah.
so we don't need surety in a commercial project, it's only
Well,
subject,
It's allowable under our bylaw anyway,
but I don't think, yeah.
that, we can hold back on an occupancy permit if not everything is done. And the note I put in here is, maybe we should clarify what needs to be done with each building, because as they said, they may not build building for
Only
ever
for-
or for a while. And so, what needs to be done before an occupancy permit is granted for building 6? Because I'm sure there's some site improvements that go with building 4, and some that go with building 6 that are applicable to both, or,
Not necessarily, I mean, six is basically done, except for the paving. I mean,
It's
there
got
was,
some
we were talking about
around it, parking.
trees in that area last meeting. I mean, they're there, they've been there,
And the parking for it is there.
And the parking is all roughed in.
It's gonna be-
We just unpaved it.
See, I don't have a clear, I don't know what the site looks like at all, and so they have a better idea of what it looks like. I just didn't.
No, I don't
brought
think we
that up.
typically hold surety
You
in
can
this
think about
case.
it if
I
it's
would-
necessary,
No,
if it
I don't
isn't.
think the need for surety, but the board sign off, if it comes to the planning board from the building inspector for a sign
That's what I
off, the
meant,
board's
yeah.
gonna say to me, go out and see if building 6 is
That's
ready,
what-
and I'm
yeah.
gonna see if he's done all the parking and the landscaping, and it's gonna be done.
It's just a,
So I
Yeah,
think,
right.
it's just a discussion between the building inspector and the planning board.
The surety is basically, you know, a guarantee that if I don't do the screening, that the town has money to do it. Right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
And that really doesn't apply in this case. And historically, it doesn't either. I mean, in subdivisions, historically, it does apply.
Yeah, yeah.
We had it in the permits for the common driveway on Weathersfield.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
So we
strike
can
that
strike
one.
23, and then 24 is about the A&R plan.
Which we'll have to file. So I don't, that's just creating the property. I think we've said all along we will file that, so a condition requiring us to do something we're intending to do anyways is probably not a problem.
So leave that in as condition 21.
I'm okay with that.
Now we go back to 20. So, let me just explain what I was thinking about before I had my conversation with Sandy yesterday, and then after the conversation, what we talked about, and then tonight he's got a different idea. Is that my idea was at the end of the Ipswich Bay class growth to its end, that the planning board should have an as-built plan on record that shows everything, as each of these 5 or 6 or 7 different amendments and additions were done. When Sandy and I talked yesterday, he said he had a problem with the end date, and I said, I just put that end date in there arbitrarily, June 30th of 2018.
That's what I asked. I said, where do you come up with that one?
No, I just threw it out there arbitrarily, 5 years from now, basically. And we talked about maybe tying it to the transfer, if it ever happens, of Ipswich Bay class. Because this special permit will be on record, so somebody would see that in the transfer, somebody has to create a as-built plan for the planning board. So that seemed to make sense to me, that was okay. And now tonight, Sandy has already explained what'd you call it, a plan?
An index.
Index plan.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that the early part of our conversation, I don't think either of us realized that the whole issue has already been bracketed by the as-bills that were done for the wetlands. I mean, you were concerned about making sure the wetlands were all recorded and so forth. And then when I went back and checked, they're already basically recorded, right? The last one just hasn't been taken to the registry yet.
Well, can I just ask, and Charlie will be able to tell me, was there an as-built plan done for each of those
Yes.
COVs?
Yes, and it was submitted and it was approved. And it's on file with Brent. Brent signed off. The Concom has closed all those orders of conditions, and I think there's either,
So if you
6 or
do an
7.
index plan and ask Charlie to do it, you'll just pull those together, Charlie? And compile them, is that a doable?
all we have to
thing?
really do is record the plan numbers, right? So that you can reference it, you can clearly go and say, this wetland as-built is such and such a plan.
But Sandy, there's more, I mean, I think Larry's referring to a plan that if there's been changes in parking, layouts,
But what-
building layouts,
What I'm trying to.
lighting.
And that's what Sandy's fearful of, I think, and what our conversation was yesterday on the phone is that it's in substantial compliance. And that he has
What does he have to-
313 parking spaces.
What does he have
for
to have
6
affidavit
buildings,
that,
7
you know, the
buildings.
buildings are substantially built according to the plans that the COVs were based on?
Yes. Yes. I mean, the problem is, we're gonna do it as-built. Charlie's gonna come out and check the corners of every building.
Well, that's what, of course, that's what you have to do. You survey, yeah.
And it's a
And you
huge,
overlay it on what you already have.
yeah, and it's a huge expense.
Well, yeah, well, it can be.
But what purpose does it serve other than to, it's
Well,
not gonna
it
help
does the
people-
work for a prospective buyer that they
Yeah.
should be doing themselves.
I mean.
It does
the-
their work.
Well, I'm totally okay if we put it out to a transfer, but which puts it way off in the future, I would guess, for you.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
You're not into that?
Well,
You're not
I just
agreeable
think,
to
I
that?
think that I think the time and money is better served putting a document together that makes.
For this
there's a-
time being, for now.
Yeah, there's a roadmap for somebody looking at it to understand what was done and why, and where everything is. The locations of the buildings and so forth.
So a master that refers to the others. Now,
Yeah.
Charlie, is that something that you've seen? And is that, you have any comments on that, or is that?
We've done, yeah, I'm not really completely understanding what,
He's saying.
yeah, but which is why I wanted you to talk about it tonight. We have done as-bills of most, in fact, that plan that you see right there is the as-built condition of the paved surfaces in the buildings.
Yeah, I mean, that
What-
doesn't have a
what
lot of
we
layers. That
haven't-
doesn't have a lot of layers on it. I mean, it's not.
Right, there is some stuff that hasn't been as-built, for example, the detention pond on building 7, and there's another detention
I
pond.
mean, there's no
on building 5.
dimensionality on that. There's
But
no-
that's all the wetland detention ponds and so
I
forth.
know.
The whole
It's said
site
you're-
is
you're hung up on
bracketed by
and
wetlands.
detention ponds.
Yeah,
So if we've located all the wetlands,
Then the buildings are set back from those in the right places.
that's right.
It's like a puzzle. I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, either push it down, I mean, I don't think it's that necessary right now. I mean, I think this is important, the work we've done. And I wanna take a vote on what we've done. I mean, Larry, should this be a hang-up? I mean,
I don't know where you're landing on this.
well, I think, is a compromise, I mean, you're looking for an as-built that has lighting and some dimensions on it. And
Primarily the buildings and the paving and the parking, you know, not the nitty-gritty detail that you might think of, you know, for an as-built of the Concom, that's everything, and that's the other thing, Concom is all within their buffer zones. So if he's outside the buffer zones, he may not have anything. I don't know if Charlie's got just the face of a building, the whole building. But I think the town and the board should have a final plan of this, and when Sandy and I talked yesterday, the final would be when he's finally done, or Ipswich Bay Glass is finally done and goes over to somebody else.
I just don't know where we put the date on that.
Well,
I mean,
push it down the road to a transfer to,
If I transfer?
yeah,
that's what the condition says, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's in a special permit and
Then the town has an
a
accurate
record
plan.
plan, yeah.
Yeah.
And so let's push down the road, as you and I talked.
you may
We're
want
not
to
gonna
back
be
off the
around for long.
language. It did say, it said, the record plan shall cover the entire site, including all improvements, buildings, pavement, parking, loading spaces, drainage systems, all utilities, and all altered areas. It's kind of a long laundry list. You may want to back off and say, you know, include improvements such as buildings, pavement, and parking, and not get into every utility and every, you know, drainage. I think that was.
Well,
what Sandy said,
drainage,
that-
I'll modify it to put it in a more general terms with respect to drainage utilities, because it's like infiltration system 3, I'm wondering if it's in there, I don't know.
Yeah,
You know, we talked a little bit about that, so that's all I think that the plan should show, infiltration system 3, it's there.
yeah,
You guys are confirming and
Sure.
you're certifying it's there.
Yeah, because we have seen commercial sites that have been bought recently that things we thought were there weren't there.
sure.
They weren't hooked up, we won't go.
So that should be modified.
And so that's why, because we never had an as-built.
To generalize those.
See, that's what we're leading to. It also helps, and this doesn't apply to you, but it also helps the neighboring commercial site. If things aren't built properly, there was impact on the neighboring site.
Understood.
So
But
that's
please,
what
you know,
I'm saying. That's not,
That's not me though.
no, it's not, but that's why. I'm just giving you an example why.
Right.
We do run into it.
But you understand, there's a huge expense
I do
in
understand.
doing that.
I-
And that's kind of
But
putting the condition on old permits.
look, it's going to be in there with the transfer, so I think that's what I've done.
I have a related question, a little related. I was just thinking about as-built for that residential lot that you're thinking of splitting and possibly building a house or two on, this special permit covers that whole residential lot that you're intending to possibly develop in the future, and we don't wanna run into problems in the future, having to go through another modification process because you're splitting off lots and building residential on them, because the special permit does cover that lot now. So, do we wanna mention that here? That
That would be a minor modification, wouldn't it? I mean, we just approve that with an A&R plan.
Yeah, or you could tack on some wording like in the business light industry complex.
Yeah.
I thought that,
But
you and I
that-
talked
that
briefly
lot
about that.
five
I thought
is-
it was just going to be what's it? A Form A plan.
Because
Right.
we have
That
to
it
get
would
Trying
be-
to just
the
say
thing was
she
gonna
doesn't-
be
she doesn't-
diced up and-
She didn't wanna
Yeah.
saddle you with a as-built on that, because now it's included.
We're gonna create that one there and probably,
Where that vertical line is.
probably here,
Yeah, something like that.
so it's probably gonna be,
So there'll be three pieces.
I guess
This-
what I'm trying to say is if you did the Form A first, it would be almost easier to,
Why don't we just add the words as relates to the business light industrial complex?
Right.
And then if
and then
it's
you could split up
residential,
any number of lots.
residential.
All of that is
doesn't
residential.
apply.
Right.
We already, one of the things in that 2007 timeline talks about how I annexed the commercial portion of that Trudell property, as we call it.
Right.
I swapped him. I gave him residential land. And there was, over in here, there was a piece of landlocked commercial land. Right. And that was one of the transactions. So I think the comment about the commercial just covers it, because all that's left there is residential.
And we'll push it down the road to the transfer of the property.
Larry, on that, when you say the transfer of the property, do you mean the entire property? What if only part of it is transferred? I mean, maybe you should be, the conditions should say all or a portion of the
Yeah, or a
property.
portion.
Or as portions are sold. I mean, it's gonna wind up divided into two lots, as it is now, we're gonna reconfigure the lot.
Right.
This is just the commercial part. And we could conceivably, I guess, sell off one piece or the other.
Well, that's
or
why I
both.
raised that.
Yeah.
And that's not a transfer.
It is, it would be a transfer. It'd be
But
something-
Because
would
there
you
is,
sell the
it's very
residential lots?
distinct
No, the
what's
residential-
occupied by my
no,
company and what we're
We're gonna
doing
put business
for
light
renters.
industrial.
Okay. What if we change their
Those
house
are on
name?
the other side here,
Just-
I think, those lots.
All right, anything else, Larry? Katrina?
When you talk about
Alright.
the lots,
I thought they were, I thought they were on this side, didn't I?
which lots?
Those lots are on the, Weathersfield Street.
No, they're on this side.
Yeah,
The three,
oh, they're right here.
1, 2, 3, and then this piece is the piece I bought from Trudell. So, the notion is that we'll divide it along here someplace,
Oh, I see.
and that's gonna remain
I mean,
maybe a separate house lot with access from Weathersfield.
Okay.
Or maybe this is, if we can't find a perk, this would just be incorporated into this lot.
Oh, I see.
Because we already have a perk here,
Okay.
right? So maybe that just goes with that. This piece of land is where these buildings will come out, and we've created a buffering between that house and this piece of land, so I'll keep that. And as I said, this piece is probably gonna go to the town. This is just all real low.
Really, yeah.
It's not ready. For signature.
I think we've gone above and beyond.
Yeah.
It certainly straightens out this back
Oh,
lot.
sure, sure.
But I still want to close the
That's-
hearing. Subject.
But I can see coming back at some point
Do that now.
and do some other things out back here. I mean, I could see that we might someday try to straighten out the zoning line and come back as we did before and ask the board to change the zoning.
All right, well, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
I'm just saying that there's some potential
Oh, sure.
to add to what I'm
Sure,
doing.
yeah.
All right, we accomplished what we set up. Larry, we have any more discussion?
No.
Okay, I'll take a motion to, along the lines of the suggestion from our review engineer to close the public hearing, subject to the changes that we discussed for the COV.
I'll make the motion.
And subject to the review of the revised plans and so forth.
Yeah, including the, yeah. So, I think it was a good, there's been good communication, dialogue, so. Cliff made the motion, I'll second.
I'll second.
Any second?
Good, second Peter.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
I don't know exactly when we're going to meet, but Larry, when do you think this will be wrapped into a final document?
We're gonna, Katrina's gonna actually do
I know,
it.
yeah. she's
So
got-
I'm gonna get together with her tomorrow or Monday, so it'll be ready first.
Potentially, Sandy, we may be meeting next week because it'll be like a summer break.
I'm available, I mean, if you can get it ready, we.
Okay, that way, so.
I mean, I think.
And you know the drill going forward in terms of the building inspectors. Okay.
With that approval, I can start my engineering on these.
Yes, the
on one of these
public
buildings.
hearing is closed, so,
So,
okay.
I'm on it.
Thank you,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sandy.
Good night.
thank you. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, guys.
So the board actually takes the vote to approve it when they sign.
That's correct. I
So it takes a
want
lot
to
of
skip
votes.
to Hawksworth Estates. Katrina? Larry? Hawksworth?
Sure.
Is someone here?
Anyone here for Hawksworth?
What?
All right,
No,
do you
but
want to explain?
Dick-
Lisa Shurey had one of those emails.
Raleigh Village Green?
Now I can answer you.
You wanted to do Valley Village Green?
Yeah?
Well, I can answer you on Hawksworth now, which is.
No one's here though.
I don't know all that first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Raleigh Village Green, local initiative, unit applications related to affordable housing documents, request for modification, rephase. I think it's a question of whether we, well, you want to explain briefly
Right,
what the builder wants to do?
The planning board is aware that, 2 affordable units were required as part of the Raleigh Village Green approval process.
Repeat that, please.
2 affordable units were required as part of the Raleigh Village Green, project over at 63 Main Street. We have attorney Bill Schack here, that is working for Steve Matzis. And he is putting together the local initiative program application, which DHCD requires to certify affordable units. I don't know if you wanted to explain
For our
what we're
TV
putting
audience, you
together.
explain DHCD?
Department of Housing and Community Development.
Thank you.
After some conversation with Katrina over the last couple of months, the original site plan special permit approval had a condition that 2 of the units were to be affordable. And it provided a requirement that, as I'm reading from it, 1, each of the 2 affordable units must be constructed in the first 2 of the 3 unit construction phases. There was anticipated at that time by a predecessor to our client that there were gonna be 3 phases of construction of the townhouses there. As things have developed and construction has proceeded, our client thinks it makes more sense under the circumstances to construct the units that are gonna be designated as affordable right at the start, and thereby have them offered for sale and go through the lottery process one time and hopefully get them sold in this first phase.
This is actually a sketch of the phases, if you wanted to show the board
Yeah.
the different
Geo-
phases.
Geographically, I guess the developer, predecessor developer called these phases, numbered them 3, 4, and 5, although there's actually only 3 phases altogether. So the first phase chronologically, coming in from Main Street, is gonna include the first 3 buildings, which total 8 units. The developer, our client, wishes to, as I say, take care of designating the first 2 units as the affordable units, and that's in building 1. Rather than have one in one phase and one in a subsequent phase. And Katrina thought it best just to address some, maybe to be more clear about the sequence of events, to have a minor modification of the site plan approval.
Or leave it to the board to decide if it's a major or minor.
So the 2 units will be in the same,
In the same,
building?
they're actually gonna be in the same
The
building.
building has 3 units or 2?
No, just 2, it's a
Yeah.
duplex.
I think the reason why, for the original condition, is for the affordable units to be dispersed and not located together.
Hmm.
So I would be opposed to,
How are they in West
I
Orange?
would too.
I would be opposed to having one duplex with both affordables.
Are they dispersed in West Orange?
Huh?
How does it make more
West Orange, are
sense?
they dispersed?
They are
Yeah.
dispersed. I believe they're dispersed. I'd be opposed to that. I'd not be opposed to having one affordable in one of those 3 buildings and an affordable in the other. That's how I look at it.
Because you said in that first, what's there now? He's working on what, 3 duplexes are being built?
Well, it's actually, I think it's.
One's
3
done, but
buildings,
the-
1 duplex, 2 threes.
What was the original?
how many, 2, where's he at now?
Three buildings, right?
That's
The
what I
orig-
thought, 3 built, that's what I saw,
The
yeah.
original plan, I believe, is one affordable unit in the first phase,
Right.
and then the second would be in the second phase.
But I can see wanting to go through the process once in the first.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but not if they're gonna be next together.
Right.
In the same,
Right.
yeah, because that would all be in building 1.
That's what
Yeah.
we're asking.
Katrina, can you tell me what the existing special permit requires? What's the language say specifically?
It is,
I can, it's here, I have it.
Sure.
Take a look. This is the page, the top paragraph.
one each and 2 in the first, each of the first 2 phases. I do want to point out, although the 2 affordable units are together in that first duplex, I was surprised you chose them because they both have 2-car garages and they're basically 3-bedroom units, as opposed to the center units only have a 1-car garage and they're only 2-bedroom units, which I thought you'd be picking the center units because they don't have the side windows. They're
Sure,
just
sure. Just based on how it's written, it doesn't
less
seem like.
desirable units, I
It
should
seems-
say.
Seems like it's at the discretion of the developer, which building it goes in.
Well, but he wants to change the condition.
He wants them in the same
No,
building.
actually, he
No,
wants.
no, it's, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I agree, it's not terribly clear about the sequence, and that, I think, was also part of why Katrina thought, since this is what we're asking, or what we'd like to do, to just have the board endorse this specific arrangement, and that would take away all the uncertainty.
Why is it not clear about the sequence?
Well, take a look at it. It really just says that it needs to be in the first 2 phases.
Which number is it?
It's the top paragraph on that page.
I see it's going this way.
And back then, the first 2 phases, what were they then?
Phases 1 and 2 dealt with constructing sedimentation basins and things like, preparing the site.
No, yeah, the,
Well, of the
3, 4,
5-phase process.
3, 4, and 5 were the building phases.
yeah, the first,
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, so it does say, doesn't it, that during the first phase, they have, one of those 8 units must be affordable, and then when they do the second phase, one of those units must be affordable, right? It does say that,
That's what it says,
and I
right?
think that's the intent of it.
If you don't
I
mind,
mean,
just
it could-
look
I
at
think
it
it
again,
could-
I'm not.
It could have been said, well,
I
it
just
says,
wanna,
it says, I think it could have been said better, but
okay.
one each of the 2 affordable units must be constructed in the first 2 phases, so I think,
So I see what you're saying, 1 in phase 1 and 1.
yeah, I think that,
I-
that was the
you know
intent.
what,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I think.
but in any case, it's a minor modification. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
no,
the
I mean,
developer,
Yeah.
the developer open to their 3 buildings there in the first,
Yes,
construction of building.
that's what they're anticipating.
But then-
Can we not have them in one, you want to put them all in that first building on the right?
Well, that's what I've been asked to,
Well,
Well,
I'm opposed to that.
Well, do you want to revisit, do you want to go back and tell?
You could possibly change that.
We'll just leave it the way it is, the one first phase, one in the second phase.
You got some, yeah, because then you'll still get it in the first, you get to choose that building,
Yeah.
yeah.
Could you change it
To
to-
go in, I
But
mean,
if you wanna do them both in phase one, the board's saying,
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
can do
the
that.
first three buildings, you can do that.
we're just
But
opposed
not
to
in
putting
the
it in
same
the same
building.
building.
We just don't
Do
wanna
you wanna
do
change that condition to
Yeah.
say just in separate buildings?
You want us to take a vote? I mean, it is a minor modification, we're not gonna reopen it.
It's an easy one.
Just leave it the way it is.
So as a result, you'll have one
There's
unit
no
in
more
phase one
paperwork.
and one unit in phase two?
Correct.
And there's no more paperwork, you're getting some help, as I can see from Katrina and going through the process, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And with you,
it's,
yeah,
yeah, it's
and the whole lottery.
a lot of
and
hoops to
there's
jump
some
through
expense,
as
yeah.
far as the state.
And I can see
board
why you
is
wanna get
concerned.
through the hoops as
Yeah.
quickly as possible and just,
Yeah.
Tonight, the board would like the board to consider, kind of approving the package, which you haven't really seen, but it's the LIP application that I've helped fill out portions of it. And Bill has sent, all kinds of, required documents that go along with it, the master deed and, the regulatory deed, the deed rider, and then the lottery plan, we're working on a timetable. That has to go to the selectmen will have town council review it, selectmen have to sign off on it, and then it goes to DHCD. And so we'd kind of like to get the board's approval to send it on its way.
Well, I think we can give.
I'd rather see it first.
It's
I was
available.
gonna say, I'm comfortable if town council approves that, you know,
yeah, I don't, yeah.
I've seen these packages before. It's a lot
Yeah.
of legal jargon, believe me.
With a really complicated
All
I've
right.
got it here to
formula to
be-
determine valuations down the road,
Right.
Well,
which
then
I
just
still
get
have
to the point to the lottery, you know?
Yeah, that was,
But, you know, so, well, I don't know.
I mean, if you want our approval, I mean, you have it, I mean, I know you're well underway and it has to
I
go.
guess one of the only variables that we've kind of decided on is, there was several different local preferences that the planning board kind of gave latitude for.
Well, that's
The
in our-
state
that's
has
in our bylaw.
prohibits most of them, and so we took the only two that we could, which is either one affordable unit will give preference to a local resident or a town employee,
Right,
Okay.
and that's it.
that's it.
And we have to ask special permission to even get that. So, but I've come up with all the documents, and so hopefully they'll approve that.
Right.
No, I mean, that's been the typical default in the past, you know?
Yeah, everything else is just required by the state, so there's
Yeah,
really nothing
That's
special
right,
to look at.
they don't give you much discretion in terms
Right.
of what's in it.
Anybody opposed to them going through the process? I
No, not me.
don't. No, I mean, I just appreciate that 'cause we have a planner now who can help you.
Right.
so do we.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Oh, are you done? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I've often reported to the board and given the board a pretty good report card on Raleigh Village Green with respect to the contractor and the developer. It's the first night Steve's been here for a while. I just think an acknowledgement from the board of that good report card coming from the board since the man is here.
well, I certainly can, I mean, after
They've
a
been
very, very
awesome.
heavy rainstorm, there wasn't any, dirt on 1A, so I was very happy the other day. A lot of dirt in my car. So, I mean, do you have any, is it going according to,
Yeah, everything's going,
has the rain helped, some of the plantings, or are you
Probably
losing?
drowned it.
no, I think everything's pretty much okay over there.
It's kept the dust down. The site is so sandy that about an hour after it rains, it's
Yeah,
dry.
it's a little dusty.
Are you
Yeah, when
going,
it
I
rains,
noticed
it's
it's
real
not
muddy.
paved, you're gonna get a binder in there soon?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're just waiting to try to get the gas company to
okay,
do their work.
okay. And everything's all set with Conservation Commission?
Yep.
Well, congratulations, I hope they sell quickly.
Yeah, Thank
As
you.
you just said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm thankful
Thanks.
for bringing that up, guys. Yeah, thanks. All right, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks
All right,
for
so
staying.
Speak to you.
On the, because we have lawyers, because John is here, you wanna,
It's okay,
what no, I wanna
okay.
do that first. And plus, I don't think it's gonna go, we're going to revisit this, so.
Right, I agree, I
Um,
agree.
I know there's been some correspondence back and forth. The members just received a lengthy document and a letter from Attorney Smollett, kind of, giving a roadmap as to where he wants to go with this. This is off of West Ox Pasture Lane. Katrina went out there and walked it from the accepted portion of the road up through the section in question.
Yep, you could see right through to all,
And
Gordon's, right?
I appreciate, so here we go again with some historical documents. So you can give, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes, that's it.
Right, no, I understand, and Katrina's been very helpful to
And-
just narrow down the issues as well, and,
Do you have a plan, or do you want me to put this one out?
Yeah.
well, I have a smaller plan, but it's always,
And-
thank you.
And I would encourage members to read Attorney Smollett's letter dated June 18th and some associated documents, but I don't want, basically, this is another complex one on an unimproved road to try to get everything onto the approved section, but, go ahead, I'll tell you where
Okay,
we're
sure.
gonna go with this.
Well, just by way of, thank you, just by way of background, I have the assessor's map, and I've just put a red X to give you some quick background on where this A and R lot is.
Well, you gotta introduce who you are.
For the record, John Smolak, attorney for Cashman Cabot, the applicant. And basically, what we're attempting to accomplish is basically to carve off this existing dwelling from the balance of the property. The owner is looking to attach the property for sale. It's already listed, this 30-acre parcel, and actually, I'm sorry, oh, you have a plan. The owner actually owns approximately 60 acres of this property, extending about
You know
200
what?
feet from Vinton's Lane
Yeah,
all the
what
way.
can you explain, just the
Sure.
state here?
So this is West Ox Pasture Lane,
It's
which
a dirt
runs
road
to-
in town, even though people live there, it's dirt.
which one runs to Weathersfield.
It's dirt right to Weathersfield.
And so the West Ox Pasture Lane was actually, it was a public way at one point and then discontinued back in the 1870s. After that time, in 1950, town meeting voted to accept the first 900 feet from Weathersfield as a public way, and then in 54, extended that additional 400 feet, so it's a total of 1,300 feet from Weathersfield that this roadway is public. Now, if you've
Is it
driven.
more or less ended these lots, where is
These
that
lots that are
for?
broken out, these
Yeah.
lots that are built on?
Okay,
Right here,
good.
right.
Yeah.
So basically, the public portion of this roadway ends right before, actually, it's right here, ends right before this particular lot. And so, what we're looking to do is, eventually, this lot would be sold off, most likely converted to an open space residential development. We've done a conceptual here, turns out to be about 14 lots or so.
Okay.
But this particular owner is not intending to develop the property, he's intending to sell the property, it's being marketed for sale, and he's not going to develop it.
Don, you talking about
So that's the
both?
concept,
So here and here?
basically right here, in this
Just here,
area.
that's 34 acres,
Right.
but they own 60,
Right, they own also,
this side?
if you're looking at Vinton's Lane, which is over here, they own
This is 30 here, too.
this parcel, this parcel, this
Hmm.
parcel, and this 1 acre parcel.
That's more than
so-
60 acres.
So, basically, the first parcel that they own off of Route 1 is about 300 feet off of Route 1 by Vinton's Lane, which is another story in itself.
Yes.
So-
I was just thinking that.
Don't.
That's another can of worms.
Please don't digress to that.
So we won't talk about that tonight.
No, please.
But basically,
Future day.
so clearly this segment of the roadway is not an accepted public way. It's not an accepted subdivision, it's not an approved subdivision.
It just says utility
segment.
easement, has a water easement to Arthur Gordon Drive to loop the
Right.
water, you know?
Right.
Steve, it just says the water line goes through, see the easement, so they can loop the water through.
Right.
Well, that property does, this property does have clear access and utility rights to Arthur Gordon.
Right.
So that is one
Yeah,
access
which,
point as a
which way are they
possibility.
proposing to access, or are they decided yet?
No decision yet. Again, it was a conceptual that was put together. Most likely Arthur Gordon, but it could be West Ox Pasture, or it could be both.
But there's no road on, there's an access strip here, right, from Arthur Gordon?
That's right, but it's intended to be an extension,
Yeah,
which
but there's nothing there, right?
there's nothing there right
See
now,
the
just an open
configuration of it.
space
Yeah.
area.
Right.
Correct, correct. So again, I guess, you know, what I've seen other planning boards do, they could either suggest that what we would do here is improve this segment of the roadway under the subdivision control law, or alternatively, you could look at a potential extension of the roadway via subdivision, and which I think is probably pretty extensive or pretty over the top if you look at trying to develop this to subdivision standards. So what we would be considering to do is perhaps developing a roadway improvement plan that would improve this area. I mean, this area has an existing driveway. It's slightly smaller than the public portion of West Ox Pasture, the portion that West Ox Pasture that's public. And try to develop the roadway so that it provides adequate access for emergency and other vehicles for this house. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, this house already has the access, practical access. It's an existing house, already has practical access out in West Ox Pasture today. But this roadway segment is not improved along the balance of the entire frontage.
Right. Which is why you wanted to use the other one.
Right.
Mr.
Right.
Chairman, if I may, you did get the board did receive comments from the police department on this.
Oh, is it?
It's under 3A on the additional comments. Fire chief will be sending comments on Monday. He's away this week though.
Oh, yeah, it's all because our planner, Katrina, sent the request with this letter right after the letter came on the 18th.
Actually,
This
the
is all
police chief got this
this is all-
comment in one day.
This has all happened in 24 hours, you know?
Right.
So,
Well, don't we have to see the roadway access plan that you just mentioned, I mean, before we can really do anything with it?
Absolutely, absolutely, and this filing was made, and I got involved after the fact,
Oh.
and so what we're looking for is some type of a resolution. You know, if the board's not inclined to
well, I think
to endorse, then maybe we look at another alternative based on comments that we get from the fire department, police department, and
Right.
other
I think that's where we're at.
personnel.
The police department said I received the plans for the lot subdivision for the lot division 44 West Ox Pasture Lane. This is dated June 19th today. I made a site visit this morning, and I believe the road beyond the town accepted portion of West Ox Pasture is not adequate for safe vehicular traffic and emergency vehicles as it exists. It turns to a one-lane road which consists of 2 tire ruts, and when it goes beyond the existing driveway, it is completely covered by vegetation and not passable by automobile.
Pretty much nailed it.
I will point out that the vegetated part is beyond what they're showing is frontage.
I know,
And,
that's,
Oh.
you know, I did ask John too earlier on the phone why they're showing more than 175 feet of frontage on this way, because my fear was that if the board did endorse that for some reason, that they could get a couple of reduced frontage lots out of it if the board had agreed that that was adequate frontage.
well, I would like a motion to deny this as it stands until we collect more information and the proponents maybe, you know, huddle again.
Do we have to deny it, or can you withdraw it voluntarily?
Well, we can do
Deny
that
it without prejudice, I mean, you wanna,
It-
but tonight I either have to deny it or you withdraw it, because I can't, it's a 21-day clock
It's already
ticking,
on
so, you know, it's a 21-day clock ticking, and I, so, I want
We have to get a letter over when we deny endorsement to, I don't know if it's safe to have an applicant withdraw something that,
no, I wanna vote to deny it without prejudice, I mean, it's not like you can't come back.
Right,
that's.
Just because we
more
deny
fun.
it with more information, you
Well,
can,
right.
you
It
can
really-
accept
it
it.
really is with prejudice, but you can always consider
That's
another
what I mean, that's what I
format.
mean, we can
That's
consider
right.
another
That's
format.
right.
Right,
I mean, I personally,
I mean,
just because I'm denying this to me, it's denying it for all time.
Cashman,
right.
Yeah.
right, and also what we could always do down the road is if this property is built out and we create an OSRD project, this lot could actually attach its frontage to that roadway that would be constructed. So, I mean, there are a couple alternatives out there, but if there's something that we can do to satisfy police and fire in terms of the access for that segment, then that's what we'll do and come back.
Actually, you might wanna ask the board, and I don't know if it's the planning board or the ZBA you should ask this question to, but there is a town right-of-way where the water line connects through to, is it
Alton-
Alden,
Alton- right,
Arthur
Alton
Gordon?
Road.
Can that be paved, can that be an access way?
Yes, that's what we're, yes.
Well, what are we talking about then when we're
But
talking
but
about?
why are we talking about that now?
Because he was looking for
I
something.
know, but I don't wanna talk
Property.
about that now. I want to deny it.
Property.
That's for them to do it. There is a precedent up here also, if you look at this plan, and I think it's still blocked off, but it's for fire, I believe, between, the OSRD and what, West Ox Bastion Road.
Yeah, right, 'cause eventually those roads will connect.
Yeah, eventually these roads will connect, and I believe
Right.
the easement, see that access portion is
Right.
similar
Yeah,
configuration.
same thing.
So I think we're gonna look at the same sort of possibility. Yeah.
Right.
But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, and
Yeah,
I wanna move on here,
The puck's already dropped, so.
so,
Down 1-0.
We are?
so,
Yes.
all right, do we just think we need to take a
I'll-
vote
Was there
on it?
I'll make a vote to deny the A and R form.
I'll second. Steve.
Steve, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And
Don't
it's
feel
not-
bad.
Oh, no, no. No, we'll be back with the.
No, it's nice property, I
I
think.
expected that to happen.
No, I think it's
so-
nice property, and
Sure.
it, you know, it's beyond, I just can't believe the thing isn't, you know, we have water lines, West Ox Special Lane, to this day is
Well,
paved, you know?
I'm glad they're thinking about an OSRD, I hope they don't
Mhm.
change their mind about
Yeah.
that.
Right.
It certainly is conducive land for them.
Right.
Right across the road is the, what is that? That, Jim George Locke's.
Right.
There's open space right across the road there, so we
Right.
could connect.
That's great, yeah. There's,
Yeah.
back to your trail thing.
Yeah, Okay.
Thank you,
Great.
John.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
And I just wanna read a letter, and we're gonna get to Larry's letter from Hawksworth. That Katrina had done some, and you've been back and forth with the Clark, with Jeff, right?
Right, and that's, under the additional,
And where is it?
documents, under 2,
I just wanted to,
is the request for bond reduction.
this is dated, June 17th, dear board, regarding Hawksworth Village, Dexter Drive, surety reduction request. Dear board, I do not recommend any surety reduction for the above referenced development until the most recent punch list is addressed and the as-built and street acceptance plans are received, reviewed, and in order. In other words, if there's a fall town meeting, we need to think about that this should be accepted in the fall town meeting, and that needs to go, you know, before we reduce the surety, that has to be in order for that, you know, for the acceptance. At that time, the board might consider reduction 50% plus or minus until town meeting acceptance. Very truly yours, H.L. Graham Associates, Inc. Is that okay?
Sounds good to
Can
me.
you just tell me what's the bond amount currently?
20,000, I believe.
And because it's at that amount, I think we gotta make sure that's adequate.
Right.
Uh,
I think Larry's advice on it seems to make sense.
Does to me. An update on Market Basket, I believe John Matthews is here. Today, we received a fence and berm plan, right?
Yes?
And this would be something that the board could vote to endorse and approve so that it becomes part of the entire Market Basket package. The meeting, Steve Cassiotis, myself, Katrina, Dick Curran, Claire, sorry. Who else was there? Mahoney?
Oh, Doug Mahoney.
Doug was out there.
The Cliff Richards.
And we looked at the site. We're going to add chain link fence next to the parking lot with some additional landscaping and forsythia, which would kind of give a buffer going up to the berm, the top of the berm with the fence. And then there's an additional berm to, what, 40 feet?
About 40 feet.
And there would have to be some drainage, make sure that, you know, the drainage, and that's being built so that it can settle. And some of the refusal is being taken out, so you get to what, more stable,
Right, we removed the.
substrate.
We removed the loam because it's organic and it's unstable, so then we're gonna bring in stable fill and then
Stable
put the
fill.
loam on top.
I believe he has the revised plans with him too.
You have it? You-
Sure.
So I think, you know, that being said, the additional planning could be done. And hopefully continue to get rain, so things continue growing. Not so much rain.
Not this much rain.
Not like we had in June, but we don't go 2 months of dry weather with pines, but, the other thing that we noted out there, and I took pictures of, that there was, trash, some, brush piles and
Yep.
debris, left over from the, septic system construction.
That's coming up.
They agreed to take all that out, that shouldn't be there, and also, take any trash that's blowing up. The site itself, the back parking lot and the site itself is clean. I mean, they do, on-site, they keep very clean, but what blows off-site, isn't necessarily attended to in the way that I think,
Right, I don't think they go beyond the buffer there, to go over the hill to see what's over there. But I think once they put that fence up, that'll catch anything.
Yeah, the chain link is gonna catch
It's,
it.
potentially anything that'll blow that way.
And the forsythia, okay. Do you want-
So, Mr. Chairman and members, good
Say who you are.
evening, John Matthews, representative of DSM Realty.
Do you wanna come up?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you guys, yeah.
So, the board asked me to prepare a plan, and to seek, and I'm seeking a minor revision of an existing approved site plan. And what we did is to take the plan that was approved in 1994, I believe it was, that added the TJ Maxx wing to the building. And since we're seeking a revision, is it 93?
1993.
April
Yeah.
14, 1993.
93. And so what we did is we showed the revisions, the minor revisions on the plan that the board previously approved. We've boxed it in red here, and then we've added a signature box for the minor modification here, identifying that the plan here is by, the revisions are by RMD. And what's involved here is based on our site inspection that the chairman talked about. We're extending the berm by 40 feet, maintaining that grade at the grade of the berm here. And that'll extend the fence, which I'll get to in a second, and we'll do additional tree plantings in the same cadence that's here on the berm addition. And then the 4-foot chain link fence down here near toward the edge of pavement, with additional pines and hemlocks. And the forsythia, like we planted previously on the berms. And additional trees over here, which we'll place in the field, and Mr. Curran's welcome to help us place those trees in the most advantageous places. And there's some here, this plan's pretty much what Steve Harrison had prepped that I brought last year.
And these would be watered through the.
They'll be watered, absolutely, yeah. And then, we saw, I was with Katrina this morning, we saw Ken Ward, showed him the fence drawing, which is acceptable to him.
And with these feedback, excuse me,
He approved it.
okay.
Said he can issue a permit.
He made
on
one
this.
little change, which I'm sure you.
Oh, there was a typo, yeah.
Yeah.
But we've got the 4-foot footing, we're showing attached fence backer rails to posts using galvanized brackets and bolts, which is the notation he wanted, and you know, we will pull a building permit for this fence, and the footings will be inspected before they're backfilled.
Yeah, so you took some of the initial comments and
Yeah,
galvanized, that are, instead of 3 feet, 4 feet down,
exactly right.
below frost line.
Yeah,
And that, pressure treated, and these butt,
yes.
and they also, the pressure treated is at ground level or just above it, or what?
Just that, I mean, the ground will eventually fill in under it, yeah.
What's the height of the fence?
8 feet.
Nine.
9 total.
Okay.
Oh,
There's a foot of
Okay, yeah,
pressure treated,
yeah, okay,
and
yeah.
8 feet above that.
All right, yeah.
Three
And it's
bagger
custom, and
rails.
it's flat on the top. Flat on the top.
Yeah, it'll step a little bit,
Yeah, I have to step if there's any variation
Right.
in the berm.
right. Right. So,
Now, you're getting the other berm is gonna be at the same height as the other berm?
yes, we're maintaining that
Because
height.
the land drops off there quite a bit.
Right, so it's gonna be actually be higher than the other
It
berm.
has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
So that means the base has to be wider.
Right, and it's been staked and,
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I don't want it to drop down, cause then they.
no, we're
yeah.
maintaining the 70, I think it's 71,
Okay,
yeah.
I saw a machine bed, they started the work,
Yeah,
probably see
Brooklyn
Brooklyn
Bank's
Bank
doing
back
it.
there.
He's
Okay.
very, very good.
he's good.
Mr. Chairman, if you did want me to draft up a letter for your signature, if the board wanted to take a vote on this, I'm looking for the items you want included in that letter, such as a description of the berm extension, the plan with the date, the landscaping. Do you want a description of landscaping on top of it, or the forsythias, the chain link fence? Do you want trash removal mentioned?
No, because that's in previous conditions,
Okay.
which are still in effect, that hadn't been enforced or hadn't been complied with.
Isn't this information all shown on the plan, so couldn't we just reference the plan?
Yeah, just reference the plan.
The
Okay.
plan and the
Do you have-
fence drawing.
Yeah, do you have a, but I would like either a separate document or whatever, a planting list with a number of actual specimens, their size and,
Okay.
and height, and we can refer to that,
Yeah,
all right?
we do have it spec that they're 8 to 10
But I want it
feet.
in a, because normally it's on a plan,
Oh, it's not on this plan?
normally it's on a landscape plan.
Mhm.
We
Like I
have,
think
we don't have the number called out, but we have proposed evergreens, typical 8 to 10 foot white pines and hemlocks.
Okay, you do have it.
Hydrascurus
I mean, you can
and
count
You have the
them off
number?
of here,
Yeah.
Well, that's,
but we'll gladly,
just doing a letter, I mean, otherwise
We'll
I'll
do-
make you do the plan.
No,
I mean,
that's
we're not
fine.
gonna do this together.
that will do it.
So, because then we can refer to that in the letter for us
Right.
to sign.
Yeah.
So, when do you think you could get that to me, so I
Tomorrow
can
morning.
write this letter?
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
um,
And that will include 8 to 10 foot
thank you, John, for giving us
Pines
that.
for the most
So
part.
Kenny
You
want
bet.
the-
and some hemlocks.
We're gonna intersperse
get
white
hemlocks.
pines and hemlocks, yeah.
But not up on the berm. The berm will be all
All
8
pines.
to
white
10
pines.
feet will be good. I'm glad they're a little larger than, because I think we were talking before at 5 to 6, 5 to 8. And now we're getting a little higher, which is better, so we don't have to wait so long.
That'll cover your fence for starters too.
Yeah. The other thing was, you have, when you got the mechanical permit for the new HVAC units, those have noise abatement on them?
What new
Do they?
HVAC
No,
units?
there are a couple of new units were put up in the last year. Cooling units.
Oh, for
over
the
the walls.
Verizon?
No, over the, well,
No,
Verizon.
The air
small units.
conditioning, the mechanical permit
No,
pulled.
where they,
We replaced HVAC units at the market, I don't know that, man.
yeah, well, yeah.
Oh, You
Where was
mentioned that you had noise abatement. You had the,
When we built the store.
oh,
when we
no,
built
I
the
mentioned
store.
the new units. I thought that's what was creating the noise, but this morning, he told me that he believes the noise is coming from the trash compactor.
Where they-
Yeah, what
Yeah,
you
I'm
were
just- all I'm
hearing
saying,
back-
that at some point,
Yep.
we may ask and revisit, and I think it's an ongoing process, because I wanna find out. When Katrina and I were there, the truck, I thought it was, you know, when trucks, like today I was at Ipswich Shellfish, and
Yeah.
it kinda reminded me of it,
Uh-huh.
because they had a truck from
Yeah.
Maine, you know, offloading fish,
Mhm.
or either loading fish or offloading, and it was really loud as it stood there, you know, but then the truck left and it was still really loud, and you were saying it was a trash compactor, but we were,
If you were hearing something and then it stopped
Okay.
completely, that was, that was the compactors.
wasn't it, it was really loud.
Yeah.
Think
We
so.
were all there. We all heard it when
If I
Bob
may
said
just
was
make a
it.
comment on that, Mr. Chairman. Dick Curran, 16 Cedarwood Lane. I believe, I know what a trash compactor sounds like, and it's not that long duration noise. And that was not the noise that was there that day. I think perhaps it may be coming from the new units, the air conditioning
Oh,
units.
I think it's something we just have to
Yeah.
watch.
And I know one thing, that 2 or 3 times a week, there are reefer trucks, refrigerator units out there, and they could stay there anywhere from 2 to 3 hours with the gen set running. And that can be extremely noisy because it's just the nature of the equipment. So,
I think we're asking the owners to go back to the original permit, which has noise abatement language in it,
right,
and we'll be watching it, that's all.
Okay, that's
Right.
fine.
With the building inspector, whatever, I think,
Yeah.
I think this fence
because-
is gonna help.
yeah, I think, and I think once the fence, the trees are up, and then we can take a measurement on your side and a measurement, I think we need to do it in a more metric way, you know?
right.
Is that a new sign that I
A more
saw going out
objective
back,
way,
no
and
trucks
not
before
subject.
7 o'clock,
Yeah.
or was that there?
That was there.
That was there?
Yep.
It's the first time I noticed it.
Because there's language in the original permit, it's more objective, you know, exactly, so.
Did-
For the board's information, when we built the store way back, if you look up in the back on the roof, there's noise abatement panels. They're the same kind that are used at Logan Airport.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they're insulated panels. We did them in Newburyport and we did them in Raleigh. And
And all the new
they're
stores
on
have
3
them.
sides of the major refrigeration equipment.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be much louder, because those are loud, I mean, you have big coolers, you know.
Yep, yep, exactly. But that's up there on the roof and has been.
All right, are there any other comments?
Just a point of interest is that I believe what the drawing depicts is that's the area where the original secondary system was supposed to go,
Reserve system.
the reserve system. So just move this for a
Sure.
second, John. This actually should be down here further. Because if you remember, that berm that was off to our left, that Market Basket added
Yeah.
in the beginning,
That's the original.
because that's where, this here is where that unit, the reserve area, because if you line it up right there, it's right in that area. Because this here, this part of it, really is in this area here, so that really needs to move down.
It's not, at this point, it's not, I'm not endorsing it moving. I think we're at the point where, because where the system was built was predicated on the Board of Health purview, and it's my understanding that they're built according to the plan and where the reserve is. They can't really go outside of that.
The board could approve, or a modification allowing that reserve area to shift. So
Which
that
one?
they're basically approving where it was built.
How do we know it shifted?
We took this off of the Board of Health.
Yeah, how do you know it shifted? I mean, I've seen, that's the question. I can't answer that question.
Well,
I have to talk to Frank on that.
There's a photo right here.
I don't, not, the photo is not a metric. I have to talk to Frank to see that the actual survey, that the reserve, I remember seeing the reserve
Well,
system
there's a question on that
on the
too, because I asked for
1986,
that.
that goes way back to the plan when TJ Maxx was built.
This plan.
Yeah, the 93 plan is when the reserve was put in.
right.
And the Board of Health went by that plan.
I'm confused, because I thought you guys went out on site.
I thought it
Yeah,
was-
so what,
You
I don't,
determined that this was the.
yeah, I don't know
the way
what
to-
you're really
way to
asking
put the fence.
tonight, Dick. What,
The thing is that shows it at 105 feet, okay? And the original request to the health department for Market Basket was 210 feet, and it actually was agreed upon because they narrowed it down. It's a
Used a
total
new
of
tech-
165.
Use of new
something.
technology.
Yeah, it's like 165 feet.
right, but that's a Board of Health issue. I mean, we went, when they built the system, they have to be an approved system.
But what we depicted here is where the system is located. That
But the system doesn't start, this whole project doesn't start there, it starts behind
It
Witch's
starts
house.
behind Witch's
It starts
because
behind Witch's
it's
house
right.
and it ends at the end of our property.
Do you remember where the berm
Yeah.
is, and right here,
Yeah.
there's a couple of trees? Well, this really is in this area here.
You're saying this asphalt, this is not accurate, is what you're saying?
Correct,
Right.
and then it ends at the end of our
Because
property.
You, it depicts it better in the original drawing that John brought us back in September of last year, because there's where the Witch's property is, Witcher's, and that's really where it starts. Because here's
So you're
the,
just saying that this should be moved on the site plan,
yes, yeah,
but where they propose to put the fence, you're happy with that?
oh, yeah,
Right, okay.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know that, but they're not, yeah, but that's not an as-built, we're not asking for an as-built. That's
Right.
something that the Board of Health does. We don't, at this point, I don't think, I mean, we're not,
What I was suggesting is, I believe the septic area was built in an area that wasn't shown on the original plan. It was shifted down a little bit, and so I was just suggesting that the planning board give it their blessing and approve it so that it's done and that they've approved that modification.
I'm not
to
gonna do that
shift
now
it.
until I see this built, the berm built, and then John can place things, the modifications that we're voting on in. We're not really voting on, but approving the minor modifications. I don't wanna get the cart before the horse. I'll do it in its totality and not,
Right.
I don't wanna do it in pieces.
But wouldn't,
I don't understand.
excuse me, Claire Curran, 16 Cedarwood Lane, wouldn't we want this plan to be accurate?
At this point, it
Or at some point?
is going to
At
be
some
built.
point.
Yes, exactly. We just went through this with, Ipswich Bay Glass. It's not, to what is on the table right now,
Yeah,
needs to be built, and then when they come before us, you know, to revive, to work, you know, for other development on the parcel, we can visit it then. You know, this is an ongoing project, they have other things they may do or whatever.
I mean, it seems to me the important thing is that you're satisfied with where the fence is gonna be.
yes.
And the new
we are.
berm is a
Yeah,
big,
right, we
the
are.
berm is a
Well,
big
I-
help,
and-
man.
I think we're also interested in making sure that down the road, 4 or 5 years from now, 6 years from now, something else comes up. We don't want this to become an issue because this
It's
is
not
in
gonna
the
become
wrong
an
place
issue,
on the
because-
site
Yeah.
map.
When they come before us for something else, we're gonna be all over for more surveying, and we'll make sure, and I'll also be in touch with the Board of Health to make sure there's an you know,
Yes,
maybe they're not
it is,
closed out with the Board of Health yet.
Yeah,
Because, I mean,
They're not.
there's also part of the conditions should be that they maintain it if parts of the fence start to,
Oh, without a doubt,
you
that'll
know,
be
I
in there,
mean,
yeah.
so.
That's the letter, Katrina's gonna have that in the letter, and,
Yeah,
yeah,
and the document really needs to be, because,
and that's gonna be recorded as well.
yeah,
so.
because we're actually making changes to a plan that was approved
I
back
understand,
in
we do it all the time.
Okay,
Okay,
I have one other question.
Sure, Claire.
There are some dead, couple of dead trees that are down here.
There's one dead one down here, that'll come out.
that's all,
Okay.
I want that brush before
Okay.
we
Well,
allow
these are
anything else to happen.
These are ones that are still standing up,
Yeah.
they're not
It's
falling
just-
over.
just-
I saw, I took pictures, Katrina, we saw what we need to clean, I mean, there's some work to be done, now is a good opportunity to do it when they're doing this other construction.
okay.
Uh,
Can we get an idea of when it may start?
It started,
The berm's being built,
Okay.
and
And,
I'm gonna meet with the fence company tomorrow or Friday
and
and
Ken's
show
given,
him the changes.
now we can pull a permit finally with his plan.
okay, and when do you
Timeline?
think it might be, yeah, the timeline as far as when it might be
Again, I put
finished?
the fence on hold because of what the
Plan.
deliberations here,
Right,
and now I've
yeah.
gotta meet with him tomorrow or Friday and have him order the extra
So
sections.
stay in touch with Katrina, then we'll know,
Schedule it.
Yeah, all right.
but I
Could we
think,
set a time schedule though? Just give them a time schedule so that we can
when you
say,
get feedback, yeah, I think,
so that we can be done with this.
no,
Yeah,
I
when
think it can be
When I have
built,
a schedule, I'll submit a schedule.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would probably take a few weeks,
Mhm.
Okay.
you know.
Also, the issue of the lighting in the back of the building, that needs to be addressed too, because in the original order of conditions, the light was not supposed to shine off of the back of the building into the properties, which because of the removal of the trees, it's,
Those are all down lights, I had them replaced because they originally weren't put in right.
okay.
Those
We'll
are
be checking, yeah, we'll be checking.
They're all down,
And I also want the sign, new sign put up, not the ambiguous signs. One sign that, you know,
on the 7
Either
a.m.
or.
Okay, we'll fix it. Yeah.
because you have both, and that's not clear to your drivers,
Mhm.
so.
Fair enough.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I'm
Are
gonna
you
walk-
gonna take a vote?
We
Wait,
don't
that's
need
what,
to take, on a minor modification?
Oh, yeah, you still need to.
Sure,
vote.
yeah, I would like to, yeah. That Katrina can formulate a letter with these conditions,
Okay.
and I'll just refer to the plan.
and that we also, I mean, it's an understanding here, and I think it's a good point you brought up, that if there is a differentiation between what was built, well, we'll be in touch with Board of Health, but at some point that will be corrected.
Okay.
Okay, it's not necessary for this construction because we have the landscape plan, we have what we need. But let's get it in, and then we can then we can place it on the plan.
So in other words, just so I have an understanding is, so in other words, we're gonna put this in, and then we're gonna more or less
Yes, and then that will be
address it
part of
again,
it.
and that will be,
And that
which will
gets,
be actually,
the letter gets recorded as part of the modification of the original
okay.
certificate of vote, special permit.
Are we gonna,
So,
well, I know there was a request from the Board of Selectmen to have town council review some of this documentation. So will that be done? Because we are making a change to.
No, there's no need to do that right now.
the Board of Selectmen can ask town council to review anything they want. If they, I didn't see anything where they asked the planning board to have town council review.
No.
They brought it up to me, no,
They brought it up.
they brought it up, but I did not construe, I don't see a reason to.
Okay.
I don't see a reason to review it. I mean, that's at my discretion. And it's at the planning board's discretion with discussion amongst the members. And it's an ongoing discussion. I'm not saying the door is closed,
Right.
okay, because we're revisiting. This is a very extensive body of historical documentation. I think the Mullers is coming before us again.
Well, we just approved a much bigger modification without sent
Yeah.
you as a town council, so I mean.
with a number, with also a very long project, with
But we
history
just-
actually more complex.
Again, we just don't wanna have
But
an
there's
issue
no-
4 or 5 years from now and.
There is no issue, we're getting,
Something.
but I
Well,
think.
we
what
didn't
the-
know this was gonna be an issue either, so.
Well, that's because we
you
picked
know.
up the ball and we're gonna continue to run and we will be on it.
Right, okay,
We're not gonna drop it.
okay.
Okay.
All
As
right.
long as I'm chairman, I'm not dropping it.
Well, it's all in black and white now, and, you know,
Yeah.
so, you know.
I'm not- it's
there's
not
no
gonna be a gap.
ambiguities here, so.
It'll be built, we're gonna check the noise abatement, we're gonna check lighting if it's an issue, litter if it's an issue, and those things that may have not been looked at in the kind of scrutiny that was required in the original permit.
Yeah, because
So,
you will agree that this was the first large retail, commercial
I agree,
development in
yeah,
town.
and I don't wanna
Maybe
stress,
the town was kind of, you know,
I understand, and that,
teething back then,
Yeah.
more or
We've
less.
come a long way since then. I
we
think.
have.
Yeah, I know, but still, at the.
The town has to retain a character, I think you'll see, as Market Basket puts in new stores, I think they're more sensitive to landscape and these issues. This store was put in
Right.
a long time ago. It does not have, I would not give the landscaping an A. If you look, for example, the Shaws in Ipswich, all right?
Yeah,
For about 20 years, that, and Crosby's in Georgetown,
Yeah. Oh,
for
yeah.
20 years,
Yeah.
those had no landscape.
yeah.
It's up to the developer at some point, in agreement with the town, to upgrade these things. And maybe there'll be an opportunity for
And we-
this.
and we've changed our rules and regs to
Yeah,
address some
so-
of those issues.
When that opportunity comes up, but right now I'm addressing this issue and I'm not gonna expand my discussion right now to the other issues.
No, I-
Mr. Chairman, could I have
Yeah.
a clarification?
Yes,
Did you want this recorded?
yes.
So you want the plan
And John gave,
and
thank you
the
for
letter?
bringing those ones that recorded, right?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, all right.
Yep.
You want the plan and the letter recorded, and so I'll
After
be-
it's done,
Well, and we
plan,
should,
this,
we
which
should,
plan?
we
The
should,
landscape-
After this plan is
we
done?
should record this
I
as
can't
an, as an attachment to the the accepted document, not as a plan index.
Right,
Just.
cause
that's
it's more of
8.5 by
a, it's
11.
more of a, concept. Because
Right.
if
It's
there
an
are,
exhibit.
it's an exhibit, cause
Yeah.
there's, if there's some errors, and do you wanna,
Do you want the fence plan on that too?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, because these are all important items. You know, these are important
Okay.
abatement items.
If we identify them both as exhibits and attach them to the decision, we'll record them on the document side.
Yeah, so they're there.
Yeah,
And
So
then
that-
they would be in turn recorded at the registry of deeds.
Yes.
that's my point, yeah.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
important.
Would it be possible for us to get a copy of that?
Sure. Book and page, yeah.
Yeah.
As John, and Katrina made requests, and I think Mr. Matthews came in with some book and page from the previous, that the selectmen had questions that weren't readily available at the time we were at the meeting.
Did you have any more luck today?
Susan Hazen's finding me the original approvals
Yeah,
from,
we're working on that.
and we'll record them.
And we're also in touch with the selectmen,
Yeah, but our-
we're giving
This plan.
the selectmen kind of updates on this
Okay.
as we go. There was an update today,
Okay, oh,
and there'll
okay,
be an update as to the result of this meeting.
okay.
All right, I'd like a,
I'll make a motion to approve the minor modifications shown on this plan.
second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, John.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Half a dozen.
Thank you.
Thank
you, good night. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Claire. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dick. Good luck.
Good evening.
You too.
Nice to see you.
Thanks.
Always a pleasure.
See, thank you.
Minutes, please. Any comments in the minutes? I have one. Where'd they go?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do you have to sign that? Or not yet?
Thank you.
He's gonna record.
If that's released as a document,
Please.
read it.
Yes,
That's a issue.
Can we sign this?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's gonna look like a blackboard.
Is that what's gonna happen?
They're gonna reduce
So
it to
he's
document
going
size.
to take that back and
Are we signing 60?
Was there a reason for that?
No.
I think just sign one.
That's what that. All right, can the rest of the members please sign that? Everybody read the minutes, please?
Yeah.
Yep. Technical review.
So when do you got to review for me what an associate member should be
No.
signing, what I
Okay.
shouldn't be signing?
Well, this is a special permit, so I guess
You have
it
work
should
to
be
do.
signed. The whole project is approved by a special.
So anything, any special permit
Thank you, Larry.
that needs to be signed off on, I can vote and
Yeah,
sign, okay?
right.
Okay, and A&R?
No.
No, oh, sorry. That's it. That's it.
But we appreciate your input.
And they're so much fun, the A&Rs are so much fun.
Could you start signing too while they're signing this? These are Larry's bills.
Oh, that's important.
What about expenses? Should I sign them, or, I mean?
Yeah, they signed in the wrong block, but I think that's fine, probably, right?
Oh, I signed it.
How many am I
No,
signing?
you signed in the right one.
I don't think,
Is it just one is
And then
necessary?
they signed in the wrong, but I think.
I would say probably not, it's not
Okay.
no, you're getting it, look, but your time will come.
I have no interest in expanding my role here, so, that's
Well,
fine.
it's
I
fine.
just don't want to be signing something I
No,
shouldn't be.
don't say that, no interest.
Yeah, don't say that.
Hopefully you have an acute interest in expanding.
At this point, I should say, you guys,
All right. Are you
all
doing
this stuff
minutes?
is still
Because,
coming to me.
because time will fly, you'll
Yeah.
see.
Did I sign that in the wrong place, you know?
Yeah, I think it's fine. They'll just sign somewhere else.
Where do we have the next OSID? That will be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Did this guy just walk
They're the
in?
most fun, the most fun thing we do, isn't it?
Are we still on the air?
Yes.
I got some thoughts on those as well, so I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Right.
Well, these are actually
We-
interesting.
And Mr. Chairman, we still have that
Yeah.
letter from Joe Mann
Yeah. Oh,
That's not-
for Raleigh Country Club.
you have to sign all of these or just two?
Just to.
Just two, okay.
Thank you. Thanks. I've got more for you to sign after this.
Trina, thanks for,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll
there's
second.
one, wait a second,
Oh, all
there's
right.
one change, where are the minutes? I have one change, let's go find mine.
Change.
I don't know where they
There
went.
they are. This would- Or did you mark something on them?
Yeah.
F.
Where is that change? Talking about it could be wrong.
It was a hockey game.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it is.
I wonder.
So they split the difference and said 7:30 on Saturdays.
Yeah. Half hour.
Does the board have a right to impose hours of operation before a project starts?
Well, we do, in the decision itself, yeah, I would say yes. And I suppose we could modify the decision, but,
We can modify it?
well, we try.
Well, would it be gospel if, or law, if we impose it before a project started? Is that legal to do?
In the condition, you could put out, in the
That's a condition
decision,
of the special permit,
yeah.
but where they didn't do it,
Right.
Well,
don't you need a basis to modify?
Well, I don't know.
well, you know, I'm still dead set against Saturdays, absolutely no Saturdays at all. And, 7 to 7, that's ludicrous.
Yeah.
People shouldn't have to come home from work and listen to that,
And 7:30 is not much of a change.
you know?
Right.
And Saturday,
Right.
like I said, people get a lousy 2 days off a week, they gotta listen to that?
He was just asking for start at 8 o'clock, he wasn't asking for a whole lot.
You know what? No Saturdays at all, as far as I'm concerned, but, you know,
I don't think.
Is there a motion on the table?
Yes, for the
Yes, there
minutes.
is.
Yeah,
I don't know if
second
anyone
for
seconded.
minutes, I couldn't find it.
Second.
In favor?
In favor?
Everyone in favor? Aye.
Yep.
Yeah,
Aye.
Okay.
And you already discussed the Joe Mann one?
I think it's gonna be an ongoing issue, so.
Yeah.
I mean, Jill, I mean, this is what happened, I mean, we had the discussion, we got feedback from the developer and their attorney, and I think, you know,
And they gave a little.
I mean, I think we're getting some clarification at least in terms of what does go on. That 3 o'clock is done on Saturday, and that if there's anything after that, I wanna hear about it. Because it would just be some repair, you know, minor repairs of machines for the coming week. because this is a site where they leave machines on site. And these machines, as you know, break down all the time. You know,
Well, not
and so-
all the time.
Well, no, but
It's
they do,
regular
they do
upkeep
need to
on
be,
them.
they do need to be
I mean, yeah, you
maintained.
gotta grease a machine
Exactly,
every day.
exactly.
Grease it,
But that should not be dropping rocks, that should not be digging holes, that should not be pushing things. That should not be, so that should be not making a lot of noise. In addition to that, the same thing on a weekday, 5 o'clock is done, you know? And, but at this point, it's not in the condition, and I think it's something that we have to maybe look at and review.
So shall I pass on those new hours to the police then, that Joe
As they
sent
stand
us?
right now, yeah,
Okay.
you know? And I
You know,
think-
what's the significance of passing it on the police though, where it's really not enforceable by anybody?
Well, it is now, because they agree to it, yeah, it is.
I mean, is, okay, I mean,
Oh,
does
it
their
is.
agreement,
No,
do
it is
anything?
now, I just don't want
Probably
the
not
police.
enforceable.
No, but I don't want the police, I mean,
I mean, I
Rely
live
on
on
their
top of
good
the golf
faith,
course,
uh,
I'm very well
No.
directly affected by it, but that being said,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think we go out there
look,
and
there's a
start.
lot of things, but the police are sensitive to the residents, and they've
Yeah.
already exhibited that.
Yeah.
But I don't want them shutting down something because of a misunderstanding, at least
Yeah.
now we have an understanding. It may not be what everyone agrees on entirely, but it's more of an understanding. It's more of a clarification as to what goes on at night. Because they weren't doing it, they were starting at 6:30, they were messing around at 6. And that's, you know, and the people were being impacted by
And
that.
that was a Saturday too, wasn't it?
Right. They were starting at 6:30 on a Saturday.
They were definitely up early, yeah, early, and Joe was right, I mean, there was certain couple days.
No, and I totally agree, I'm not, I'm believing what people are saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, and as someone directly affected by it, I still feel like I'd rather see it done quicker than,
Quicker, yeah.
than worry about my Saturdays, but that's just my perspective.
You know, and Steve, you know, I wish we could solve all the problems everywhere in the
Yeah,
town.
well, you know,
I tend to, I'm not saying I disagree with you, if I was, but, you know, I don't particularly like garbage trucks going by at 3
Oh, I
AM.
hear you.
Right,
I hear you.
and,
When the
I mean,
windows open.
that place was shut down for more than 2 years, you know.
Totally wasn't enforced, totally.
Exactly.
Okay, can we, have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Thanks. All in favor?
in favor.
Aye.
Jane, I'm gonna try to look at those,
Oh, what's the next date?
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, yeah, next week.
no, I
What?
don't think we need to meet
Wait.
next week. But see, then we can push it now because we denied the,
yeah.
we're gonna push it to, either the 17th or 24th of July.
That would be good.
17th, I'm actually coming in that day, that's fine, you don't need, if there's a delay in the plan on the, I'll be there. 17th, is that all right?
Yeah.
17th?
Okay.
Gives me a good excuse to, yeah, good.
All right, 17th, Katrina?
See you guys later.
Okay.
Pretty good, huh?
Right.
17th.